So I do have a quick um, video from Mark Hitchcock. I know that Rick knows Mark, who he is, and he talks about what's something that many of us have heard about, I think, over the last several years, and that is that there's something going on with people in the elite, or let's call them billionaire class, in terms of buying or building shelters. It's like, do they know something that we don't? So Mark addresses that in this video. This thing is not wanting to work very well.
I know they have them in Israel.
Pardon me?
I know they have them in Israel, the shelters. Yeah, because my daughter's one of her
Well, they have because of all the rockets coming
Oh,
over.
you know, they have bomb shelters there.
Yeah.
These are something different.
These are
They have
survival shelters.
safe in their house.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a
That's just a
room.
safe room.
Safe
This is
room,
what
bomb
he's talking
shelters.
about is,
Yeah.
we'll say like when they'll
Tell me
be
a story.
in a bunker somewhere for
I used to believe that
months,
Jesus
years.
was
Yeah.
a Catholic God, God of the Gentiles.
I imagine. Our focus today is the sweeping preparation, the doomsday prepping that tech billionaires all over the world are making for the coming apocalypse. This has left many people wondering, well, what do these wealthy elites know that the rest of us don't know? Why are they preparing so feverishly in these times in which we find ourselves? And again, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, the deepest fear, I think, of these billionaires seems to be that something is being unleashed that they don't fully understand and can't fully control. And their fear is palpable. Billionaire prepping is mushrooming across the globe. Billionaires are digging in, literally. Now, some are just chalking this up to paranoia, saying these are rich people who are paranoid, but others believe they may be onto something. They seem to share a collective sense that the world is headed to an age of apocalypse. One online article referred to it as utopias, dystopias, and Star Wars fantasies. That's an interesting way to describe what's happening. Let me just read from a few articles this week. The BBC headline, Tech Billionaires Seem to be Doom Prepping. Should we all be worried? Here's what it says in this article. Mark Zuckerberg is said to have started work on the Kuilao Ranch, his sprawling 1,400-acre compound on the Hawaiian island of Kauai, as far back as 2014. So he's been working on this now for over a decade. It is set to include a shelter complete with its own energy and food supplies, though the carpenters and electricians working on the site were banned from talking about it by non-disclosure agreements, according to Wired magazine. A 6-foot wall blocked the project from view to a nearby road, so nobody could see what was going on there. Asked last year if he was creating a doomsday bunker, the Facebook founder gave a flat no. The underground space, spanning some 5,000 square feet, he explained, is just a little shelter. It's like a basement. But that hasn't stopped the speculation, this article says. Likewise, about his decision to buy 11 properties in the Crescent Park neighborhood of Palo Alto in California, apparently adding a 7,000 square foot underneath space below it, a ground space below it. Then there's speculation around other tech leaders, some of whom appear to have been busy buying up chunks of land with underground spaces ripe for conversion into multi-million pound luxury bunkers. And what seems to be driving this, the deepest fear they have, is AI. But even the next phase of it that's called AGI, which is artificial general intelligence. And then there's another called artificial superintelligence, when machines are able to outthink, outplan, and perhaps outlive human beings. Ilya Sutskever is the chief scientist and co-founder of OpenAI. So obviously he's an authority on all of this. And an article says this about him. It says, by mid-2023, the San Francisco-based firm, talking about ChatGPT, or OpenAI, had released ChatGPT, the chatbot now used by hundreds of millions of people across the world, and they were working fast on updates. By that summer, Mr. Sutskever was becoming increasingly convinced that computer scientists were on the brink of developing artificial general intelligence, the point at which machines match human intelligence. In a meeting, Mr. Sutskever suggested to colleagues that they should dig an underground shelter for the company's top scientists before this technology was released to the world. So before they release AGI to the world, one of the founders of Open AI says we need to get a big bunker down underground for all the top scientists of this. So they believe that what they're unleashing on the world has the potential to destroy our planet, or at least life as we know it. Now, several weeks ago, I mentioned Peter Thiel. Some of you may not have known who he was at the time. Founder of PayPal, has a defense company, or it's really a surveillance company called Palantir. But he's this billionaire, about the 100th most wealthy person in the world. And I mentioned several weeks ago on a video that Peter Thiel has been talking incessantly, in recent days, about the Antichrist and Armageddon. On 4 Mondays in September and October, he gave some closed session lectures out in San Francisco on the Antichrist. And really not much information is leaked out about what he said, but he just talks incessantly about the Antichrist. But Peter Thiel has bought huge chunks of land in New Zealand, and he's trying to build a massive bunker-like lodge there. Now, he's been turned down by the government, but he's still trying to do that. People are going either to New Zealand. Some of these other massively wealthy tech billionaires are going to Alaska. They're going to kind of faraway, remote places that are seen as fairly safe and stable to go build these underground bunkers where they think they can kind of ride out the apocalypse. Another publication called Fortune has a headline that says numerous billionaires preparing for end of society. The subtitle of the article says guns, gold, and bunkers galore. The article says this: figures like OpenAI CEO Sam Altman and former OpenAI chief scientist Ilya Sutskever, the man I referred to a little bit earlier, who now helms the rival AI firm Safe Superintelligence, among others, have voiced their concern that still unrealized AGI, or an AI system that's generally more intelligent than humans, will send human society into irreparable chaos. Sutskever said, "We're definitely going to build a bunker before we release AGI." Many of these folks are putting their money where their mouths are. Altman, for instance, is known to have a stockpile of guns, gold, sprawling properties, and other resources he can turn to in the event of an AI-inflicted Armageddon. So there's no doubt that AI is changing and will change our world in ways we probably can't imagine right now. And even these tech billionaires who really understand this better than anyone else, they probably have a greater fear of it than anyone. Because while they, I don't think, even fully understand its capability, they understand it far more than most of the rest of us do. And these tech billionaires know that some dramatic change is coming, and they're afraid of it, and they're preparing for doomsday. So what do we make of all this, though, for ourselves? Well, we can be sure, one thing we can be sure of is the coming Antichrist will employ every form of AI to usher in his own AI apocalypse. AI, AGI, artificial general intelligence, ASI, artificial superintelligence. He's going to leverage all of that and maximize that to control the world. And really, this tool could be the very tool that's used by him to bring that about, something we could have never, ever imagined even just a few years ago. And you ask, well, what about all this prepping that's going on? What should we be doing? I mean, if these tech billionaires are doing this, should we be doing the same? Well, here's my opinion, and again, this is not from the Bible, so I'll just give you my own thoughts about this. There's nothing wrong, and in fact, I think it's probably wise to make some common sense preparations for natural disasters or disruptions in supply chains or some other unforeseen problems that temporarily disrupt commerce. So I think that's a wise thing to do and a fine thing to do and probably something that we should do. But giving in to fear of the future and doomsday prepping, I think to the extent these people go to, is not our calling as Christians. We have to remember we're waiting for Christ, not the Antichrist. We're waiting for Jesus. He's our blessed hope. And our lives are filled with hope for the future, not horror for the future. The rapture is the next event on God's prophetic calendar. And we've not been given a spirit of fear, but we have been given as believers a surge of faith. We're to live in faith, we're to live in expectation, we're to live in anticipation of the coming of Jesus Christ. Again, that doesn't mean that we put our head in the ground, our head in the sand, and don't see what's happening in the world around us. But our ultimate hope is that Jesus is coming, and we believe it may be very soon. And we prepare for that every day, not by building bunkers, but by building believers, by sharing the good news of the gospel with other people around us, by building up our own spiritual lives, and by building up the spiritual lives of others. The biblical word for that is edification. We edify and build up ourselves in God's word and prayer and fellowship with God's people. We build up others around us as well by encouraging them and praying for them and helping them and supporting them. So my prayer is for myself and for all of you who are watching is that we'll be found faithful to that calling when Jesus comes. And indeed, maybe very soon.
Bob, we want to talk tonight a little bit about mythos. I don't know how to pronounce it. Mythos, mythos, NUAI.
Oh, the Claude thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that on here. That hopefully get to it. Interesting.
Scary.
Yeah, I can't profess to be an expert on that, but maybe I'll jump right into that in a few minutes. Talk about it. But a couple of articles that I came across that I think are interesting and certainly demonstrate where we are in God's prophetic time clock. And this article has to do with Israel, and the title of it is 60% of Americans, I didn't think it was that high, harbor unfavorable views toward Israel. This is a Pew survey. 60%, which is so biblical, but yet it's also surprising. If we go back before October of 2023, I don't think you would have found that. But here's just a couple of excerpts from this article. A new Pew Research Center survey released this week found that 60% of U.S. adults have an unfavorable view of Israel amid the ongoing war with Iran, though a majority of Jewish Americans and white evangelicals continue to hold generally positive opinions of the country. Among those who harbor unfavorable views toward Israel, 28% describe their views as very unfavorable, marking a 9% increase since last year. So those that have a very unfavorable view of Israel gone up 9% in 1 year. And nearly 3 times the number who expressed such a view in 2022. So what this is saying is that the anti-Israel sentiment, if we're seeing it grow so exponentially here, is fulfilling prophecy at a rate was really kind of surprising to a lot of us. Antipathy toward Israel was more pronounced among younger people. Broken down by age groups, 70% of those aged 18 to 49, including 57% of Republicans in that age group, have an unfavorable view. Religious views and race seemingly played a major role in determining respondents' views of Israel, with Pew noting that Jewish Americans and white evangelical Protestants have mostly positive views at 64% and 65% respectively. And that kind of surprises me a little bit because that says 65% of Jewish Americans have a positive view of Israel. So even among the Jews in America, the support of Israel is not as strong as you would expect. White non-evangelical Protestants were 39% positive toward Israel. Roman Catholics were 35%. Black Protestants 33%, and the religiously unaffiliated only 22%. And only 4% of Muslims hold a positive view. So those are pretty shocking numbers if you think about it. So, and the survey also found a profound distrust of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, that his unfavorables had spiked among Americans, with approximately 6 in 10 people, or 59%, saying they have little or no confidence that he will do the right thing. I mean, these are people that don't have a clue. They simply don't know what they're talking about. To me, Netanyahu is and I've said this before, modern contemporary Winston Churchill. He's that solid leader. The survey noted that the number of those questioning Netanyahu this year marked an increase of 7% since 2025 and almost 20% since 2023. So this anti-Israel Netanyahu sentiment is exploding. And that's just in the United States. Imagine what it would be in other places throughout the world.
Well, I think that has a lot to do with the false narratives being broadcast.
Exactly. Yeah, it's education, it's the media. Yeah, absolutely.
Looking at the social media and stuff, and they're believing the lies that are being put out there. We'll say the AI generated scenarios that
Right.
are just flat out fraudulent.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, and it just proves that it's, the Satan's in charge, really. Here's another one along the same lines. Pro-Israel Christians are now in the crosshairs of Europe's rising anti-Semitism. So if you're a Christian in Europe, there could be a price to be paid for supporting Israel. On Friday evening, a manhunt was launched in the Netherlands to track down suspects responsible for a bombing attack targeting Christians supportive of the Jewish state. The explosive was planted at the front doors of a building belonging to a Dutch Christian organization which seeks to stand in solidarity with Israel and combat all forms of anti-Semitism. The group frequently features pro-Israel lectures, sells Israel-made products, helping to support the Jewish community, combat false information against the Jewish state, and counteract anti-Israel boycotts. The ambassador to the Netherlands warned that the bombing was not an isolated incident. First, Jews were intimidated and attacked in the Netherlands. Now, Christians who support Israel are being targeted too. So, this is another uh, situation we're seeing grow. So Christians are going to come under increasing attack, so it's going to be uh, important for us to be able to stand up to that, I think. Getting into AI, I've started to put together kind of an updated AI PowerPoint. I've just started. I've got 3 slides, which will kind of introduce it. But we're moving into the days of quantum computing. I don't know if you saw today that several of the quantum companies' stock prices went way up because I think it was NVIDIA has announced that they're going to be moving more toward quantum computing. And companies like some of these smaller chat or quantum companies are really going to start moving to the forefront, I think. But then we have also 6G. Now, here's an article: Bill Gates, Mexico, and the global push to digitize your identity. It always begins with a promise of convenience, a promise of safety, a promise of efficiency, a promise that this new system will make life smoother, easier, smarter, more secure. The most dangerous systems of control are almost never introduced as tools of oppression. Naturally, they've got to do things differently. They are introduced as tools of progress. That is exactly what we're watching unfold right now with a worldwide push for digital ID. What is being sold to the public as modernization is, in reality, the construction of something far more powerful and far more dangerous. A system capable of tying your identity, your finances, your communications, health records, your employment, and eventually your access to society itself into one trackable, manageable, enforceable framework. And this stuff is coming together at a breakneck pace. It really is. Pardon me? Yeah, right. Call it digital identity, call it public infrastructure, call it modernization. But at its core is the architecture of control. And increasingly, some of the most influential voices in the world are no longer hiding just how expansive they want that architecture to become. Bill Gates has once again championed digital identity as a foundational pillar for the future in a recent discussion, openly describing a framework that begins with identity, bank accounts, and payments, and then expands outwards into agriculture, health records, and even climate policy. This should stop people in their tracks because once identity is tied to your money and then connected to your medical history, your food systems, your land use, your energy consumption, and your compliance with state or institutional rules, you are no longer dealing with a simple ID card. You're dealing with a digital leash. And this is not the first time Gates has promoted such a vision. 2022, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation argued that digital ID, digital payments, and interoperable data sharing should function together as the three foundational systems of what it calls digital public infrastructure. The implications are enormous. It means creating a society where proving who you are digitally becomes the gateway to participating in everyday life. This is leading to the beast system, where people will not be able to buy or sell. And so this is putting in place the infrastructure for Antichrist to be able to use when that time comes. In 2024, Gates expanded on that same worldview, again praising systems that combine digital identity, payment rails, and interoperable records as a model for the future. And even earlier in 2018, he publicly praised India's Aadhaar system, one of the largest biometric. That's the next thing we'll start hearing a lot about. And in a bit, I'm going to talk a little bit about, I forget exactly what the name is, digital sand. It's like uh, uh, developing developing technology with antennas the size of a grain of sand that can be implanted and used for all kinds of things. More on that later. Um, the digital ID never stays in its original lane. It's never just for verification. It's never just for security. It's never just for convenience. Once governments and institutions have a durable biometric link, everybody knows what biometric means, right?
Not really.
Biometric means using technology uh, to like brain chips, chips that can be inserted under the skin, ingested, tattoos, whatever. That's biometric technology. That's using our biology as a means of tracking and identification and those types of things.
But a little bit more previously, also fingerprints,
Right.
retinal scans,
Facial recognition. Yeah. That's the
stuff
yeah.
is here now.
Yeah.
But
Right.
you're talking about even more.
Right.
Oh yeah, it's gonna make that stuff look like nothing.
Right.
There won't be any hiding, shall we say.
Exactly. Once governments and institutions have a durable biometric linked identity system, the temptation to connect it to everything else becomes overwhelming. And I don't think we have to be rocket scientists in this room or listening in to know that there are people in our government that are longing for the time when they can track, control everything. I think the prior administration, I think even this administration is engaging in activity at a pretty fast pace to bring us to that point.
Would you say like the going through the airports now, Clear has taken over what
Right.
used to be the
TSA.
TSA pass. So that is a digital form that
Right.
they're accumulated, and it's people want that ease of getting through the airport, so they volunteer that
Right.
information.
Right.
That's all retinal, I think.
Yeah, retinal and facial scan. I mean, you can't go through TSA without having a photo taken
Right.
every time, and it matches up. Yeah, right.
What if you refuse all this stuff?
Pardon me?
You can't, you don't get on the plane.
And that's the thing, and as I say in this little presentation I'll do if I get to it tonight, is that it's happening. We don't have a choice. All this stuff's being forced down our throats, and there's not a thing we can do about it. You know, I mean, if you want to get on an airplane, you're gonna have to have your picture taken, a facial scan, retinal scan, fingerprints, whatever it may be, and more coming.
It's more interesting, like, you can't pay today with cash.
No, I know.
Oh, that's the other thing. Cashless society is coming. Yeah.
And, you know, everything has to be done electronically. You can't even drop a check off somewhere. It has to be done electronically. So there's no security anywhere.
Once governments and institutions have a dual biometric linked identity system, the temptation, let's put it this way, China already has a biometric system. They call it their social credit system, where everybody in China is tracked through facial recognition and other technologies, and they're literally judged based upon how they comply with government regulations. To the point where if they are found to be missing a few points because they said something or engaged in some activity or perhaps were caught carrying a Bible, then they might not be able to travel for a period of time. And so it's already and has been in operation in China for some time. And you've got companies like Google that are salivating over the system that they have. And we have people in our government that are very interested in modeling our infrastructure after what China does. And Klaus Schwab, who's the head of the World Economic Forum, who says that China is the model that this one global world system should follow.
They're communists.
Pardon me?
Aren't they communists?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So why would we want to do that?
Well, it's because we're moving toward their system. There's a lot of very nefarious people in the system that are behind these things. It's not just the government, but it's what we call technocrats. People like
Gates.
Gates and
Zimmerman?
Hmm?
Right.
the head of Palantir, Peter Thiel, and Zuckerberg. All of these people are helping to fund and to gain a foothold in the system because we've got for example Trump's second day in office, he brought all these technocrats in to commit $500 billion to building these data centers. And in exchange for that, they actually have access to government secret information. So it's exactly what the Bible talks about that we're seeing coming together.
Just sort of a little bit on this subject. The prophecy roundtable that I listen to all of YouTube. It's got a lot of different topics that they talk about, but there's two overriding themes that carry all the way through every meeting that they have. One is technocracy and who and how and why and what they're doing. And the other one is what they refer to, you refer to as the beast system. In other words, building the computers and technology that's needed that the Antichrist will need when he arrives on the scene.
Right.
It may not be fully built by the time he arrives, but much of it will already be. So they go into that, and they answered some of the questions like it come up for now. He said, why would we want to follow the kind of thing? Well, for example, they talked about the currency aspect of it. And how and why would we give up our cash? Why would we do that? How would they make that happen? What would the scenarios be that would cause that? And what if we said no? What if we said, I don't want to do the TSA thing, clear thing, and I want to be that. What if we said we're going to move to a farm in the middle of nowhere and we're going to get off the grid? They've talked about all these things, and there's an answer for all of them that we won't be able to exist.
Let's just take a quick look at 1 John chapter 4. That helps to spell out to understand what the beast system is, and that really the spirit of Antichrist. We've got, and well, I'll just read the first couple of verses of 1 John chapter 4, beginning in verse 1. Dear friends, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God, because many false prophets have gone out into the world. And that's what we're seeing today is an explosion of false prophets, whether it's the media or the alternative right or the left or the communists or the socialists or the Muslims or the liberal Christian churches, whatever it might be, that there are false prophets under the control of Satan, that are in charge of everything. This is how you can recognize the Spirit of God. Every spirit that acknowledges Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is from God. That's the telltale thing. Do they acknowledge Jesus as having come in the flesh? But every spirit that does not acknowledge Jesus is not from God. And here's where we get the spirit of Antichrist, which you have heard is coming, and even now is already in the world. So the spirit of Antichrist, it's not Antichrist. And I think if we went back to 1 John a little bit before this, in chapter 2, verse 10, it says, Dear children, this is the last hour. It's interesting that John said that 2,000 years ago. As you have heard, the Antichrist, this is direct article, the single Antichrist is coming. That's a direct reference to the person that's going to come and be in charge during the tribulation. Even now, many Antichrists have come. This is how we know it's the last hour. So you have the Antichrist, and Antichrists are those that are preaching a gospel other than the gospel of Jesus Christ, are Antichrists.
What verse are you in?
I'm in verse 18, I'm sorry, of chapter 2. They went out from us, but they did not really belong to us. For if they had belonged to us, they would have remained with us. But their going showed that none of them belonged to us. But you have an anointing from the Holy One, and all of you know the truth. That's what we have, is the truth, and we know it because of who Jesus is and what he does. Who is the liar? It is whoever denies that Jesus is the Christ. Such a person is the Antichrist, denying the Father and the Son. No one who denies the Son has the Father. Whoever acknowledges the Son has the Father also. So, pretty clear test of who's the Antichrist and who isn't. Those that don't profess or profess to know, other than what we know about Jesus, are all Antichrists.
So this is going to happen during the tribulation. Antichrist is going to come.
Right.
And that's when.
That's the Antichrist. Remember in chapter 4, we saw the direct article, the, separating the single Antichrist from all of the other Antichrists.
So, in that time, is that, do you think, does the Bible say, is that when they're going to, well, it said, what, 666, but now, is it going to be something embedded in you?
It could be embedded. We don't know if it's going to be embedded or wherever, but
Well, we wouldn't take it anyhow. We won't be here.
we won't be here. No.
So we don't have to worry about
We
that.
don't have to worry about it.
Yes, but what a lot of this is about is the system for the beast is being constructed.
And that's what,
now,
right, that's what we're talking
right in
about.
front of us.
Right,
We will be gone
Mhm.
by the time the Antichrist arrives.
right,
But that system is coming in place as we speak. And we won't necessarily be able to avoid all of it. We'll suffer through much of
right.
it before the
Yeah,
tribulation. The time of the rapture will be gone.
yeah,
But it doesn't mean that won't suffer anything up until the rapture.
right.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right. I'm convinced, well, yeah, obviously the worst of the worst happens during the tribulation. We'll be gone for that. But we're currently being caught up, and I spent a lot of time studying the economy, the world economies, and everybody, I was telling Shirley this the other day, everybody I'm reading now, not in the Christian world, but in the secular economic world, whatever you want to call them, analysts, experts, or whatever, are all saying the same thing. We're heading for a crash. We're heading for an economic catastrophe. It's going to happen. And there's a lot of different things that can cause it. It could be any one of those things or some combination, and it's everywhere. And so we could experience that.
Right. We're Christians. We know it's not going to be the end of all for us, but it's something. I'm sorry if I keep interrupting here, taking you off track. On that point you just made, Britt Gillette just this week, in fact, I guess it was this week, I heard it this week, did a detailed thing on the global financial impact as a result of the Strait of Hormuz being closed,
Right,
and how far away, how long it will take ships to get where they need to get to, even if it were to open today.
right,
And he talks about the multiple layers of impact,
right.
like the
It's
helium
huge.
that we
It's
won't
huge.
get,
Yeah.
that's needed in Taiwan to make and other places to make semiconductors.
Well, 90% of Japan's gas comes through the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah.
So their economy literally was shut down.
Yeah, and the same story applies to Australia. I mean, it goes on and on. It's all around the world. You do a lengthy thing on it, and it's scary. Yeah, not to belabor this, but just a short note. I put his entire document, the text document, through AI, and said, "Tell me where it's wrong. Tell me where this doesn't add up."
Yeah.
And the bottom line of it was, he's right, but he overemphasizes, he's over melodramatic in how he says it.
Right.
But basically, his facts are right.
Right.
And he gave a lot of details. How many weeks does it take a ship to go from Iran, from picking up oil in Iran to Australia or to any other country? How many weeks are already on the ocean?
Right.
When are those ships going to be empty and unable to get back through the strait? On and on.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I wish that was everything, but it's not. It's only one small piece of the whole puzzle. Here's another thing that, as I've said many times, we can't look just at things in terms of the United States. We have to look at things globally. Listen to this. Mexico. You want to see how messed up things are. Look at Mexico. Look at Canada. Spain is a communist nation. They're under a communist leader. Great Britain is a mess. France has got basically a socialist leader. The whole EU is under duress. I mean, it's just. But you look globally, and what are they trying to do to solve the problem? Well, they want more control. And listen to what's going on in Mexico. Mexico is rolling out what is known as the CURP Biometrica, a major expansion of its existing population registry. What was once an 18-character alphanumeric identity code is being transformed into something much more invasive and much more personal. Under this new system, the government collects fingerprints, iris scans, facial photographs, and a digital signature, packaging all of that into a QR-enabled identity credential tied directly to your body. This is simply not a paper This is not simply a paper ID digitized. This is your biological identity being absorbed into a state-managed system. To register, citizens must go to RENAPO, R-E-N-A-P-O, and civil registry offices where staff scan all 10 fingerprints, both irises, take a facial image, and record a digital signature. They must also provide a valid photo ID, a certified CURP, and an original or certified birth certificate just to complete the process. They want to make sure they've got everybody counted. The Mexican government has framed this expansion primarily as a response to the country's devastating crisis of forced disappearances, which is a huge problem where people just disappear. And so they're trying to set up the system. That is the emotional justification being offered. Officials say the system will help identify missing persons and improve coordination between databases. But the actual structure being built goes far beyond that stated purpose. The biometric data is being fed into a unified identity platform that links the National Population Registry with the National Forensic Data Bank and records all records held by prosecutors, intelligence agencies, and other government bodies. In other words, this is not merely a missing persons tool. It's an integrated state identity system with wide surveillance potential and broad institutional access. Now, the president of Mexico is a bona fide communist, and she is very much behind a lot of these things. So the idea that it's being used to help track missing people, yeah, maybe. But the bigger issue, clearly, let's face it, is control and surveillance. The law reportedly does not require authorities to notify citizens when their data is accessed. So if law enforcement, intelligence agencies, or the National Guard pull your biometric or personal information, you may never know. You will not know who looked. You will not know why. You will not know how often, and you will have little meaningful ability to challenge it. It goes on and on and on. And this stuff is just going everywhere. So technically, China is implementing a system where everybody's going to be in this database. And I think it's by June, if I'm not mistaken, of this year.
I was just going to say to her point, didn't you just describe China?
Pardon me?
Didn't you just describe China?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's the same in Canada. Let's see, is this about Canada?
They're asking them to let them put them to death.
Yeah, here's another one. They're not just watching you, they're just storing everything about you. Imagine walking up tomorrow to learn that every company you do business with, your phone carrier, internet provider, UPS app, has been legally required to store a detailed record of your movements, your devices, your daily patterns for the past year. Not because you're suspected of anything, not because the judge reviewed your case, simply because you exist and the government decided your data might be useful someday. This is not a dystopian thought experience. This is Canada today. Bill C-22, the Lawful Access Act 2026, compels every electronic service provider in the country to warehouse the metadata of every Canadian citizen, location data, device identifiers, transmission records for 12 months, prepackaged and ready for law enforcement retrieval. And it goes on and on from there. And I'm not going to go into everything, but I think we get the point. This is dystopian tyranny being created right before our eyes.
Remember on January 6th, right after that, the Biden administration had law enforcement figure out who owned all the cell phones that were anywhere near the Capitol on that day. And they went and arrested a lot of people.
Right.
Just based on phone. Described gives law enforcement the ability to figure out where you were every moment for the last year.
Right.
So if there was a murder 2 months ago on the corner of Brown and Smith Street over here, they might look at that database and find out who were all the cars within an hour after that. murder or before that murder,
Right.
that they passed that area.
Right.
And suddenly they've got a small pool of people to look at.
They want to really control us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They're taking all our freedom away.
And that's one of the methods to get there. To control us, take our freedoms
If
away.
you ain't part of the elites, you're everything else.
Right.
But
So along
you know,
those lines,
because you think of medical, like you were saying, everything's going to be. They want everything to be, in the database or
right,
whatever. We have to sign HIPAA forms, right?
right,
But yet they're giving it to to everybody to see.
right,
So it means meaningless now.
Nothing.
right. I mean, if you're in the have the my chart, every doctor, I mean, not that it's going to hurt or anything, every hospital has access to that information. So once it goes in there, wherever it goes in there from, it's centralized. You know, wherever you go, it's there. So along these lines, I was going to finish, and I still want to finish next week the little thing we started on the whole Catholic Church and how it's influencing evangelicals and what a challenge that is. But we started talking about technology, and a lot of his technology stuff is way over my head.
Right.
And so, but I've been studying a few people and trying to put together a study that addresses a lot of it, just to see not so much the technical part of it, because I couldn't do that. I mean, when it gets to all these different technologies and AI and different systems, John could do a much better job than I could. But um, really, to see where we're going, what's in store, what's happening. And right now, we have quantum computing, which is a subject unto itself. But quantum computing, once it's developed and finalized, they've already tested it in certain circles, can do calculations and solve problems that would take in a matter of seconds. And I think we saw kind of like the entree to this type of thing through ChatGPT and so forth, where they can go into these huge reservoirs of data and come up with solutions to very complex product problems in a matter of minutes, problems that have never been solved before. And so that's one of the things that quantum is going to do. And like I said, just today, several quantum companies uh, are being noticed, and they're starting to make money, and they're starting to move out into the mainstream. But uh, I put together a couple of slides. I've got a couple of quick videos, a couple of articles here and there, just to kind of tell you that not everything you see is as it seems. Don't believe everything you read and everything you see. And I think I'm coming to the point where, I appreciate what the current administration's doing, but I don't care who it is. I don't really trust them.
That's how I feel.
I'm very thankful for what they're doing with Israel, for the relationship with Israel, and other things. But there's things going on behind the scenes that I think, fortunately, President Trump, I don't know if he was responsible for that photo of him kind of suited up like Jesus. I don't know if you saw that or not. Yeah, but he took it down personally. Yeah, but still, there's people that think that. Yeah, yeah, I saw it too.
Love-hate relationship with Donald Trump.
Huh?
I have a love-hate relationship with Donald Trump.
We all do, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't trust him.
In that case, there was a woman preacher who was saying, comparing his suffering, suffering he's got to suffering of Jesus. And then Dr. Robert Jeffress was there, I think usually really good. He was there agreeing with her.
Oh,
And I think there was a lot of pushback from Christians on that comment.
was that Paula White?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I heard about that.
So that's maybe the impetus for that.
Yeah, it could be.
That particular.
Yeah, she is. I don't know why she is in charge of the faith committee or whatever they call it, because she is a name it and claim it prosperity teacher. I don't. She's a true Bible believing Christian. Great. But boy, she's one of these fanatics that goes out and speaks and draws 50,000 people at a clip. And, if you just throw a little seed money here, you're going to be blessed. And it's just all that kind of stuff. But yes, she is his, uh, whatever you call it. All right, so I'm just going to go through these kind of quickly because a lot of it's interesting. But talking about the next big thing along with quantum is what's called 6G. It just seems like yesterday that they introduced 5G.
4G.
Yeah, 4G, 5G, now 6G. And along with that comes the rise of total surveillance. I used Copilot to help you with that title, John. You'd be proud.
I wish you wouldn't use Copilot.
China, we've already talked about this. China has a totalitarian system that tracks and controls every citizen through what is called their social credit system. They track, monitor everyone, and award or take away credit scores that determine what they can and cannot do. Now, if you look at Revelation 13, which we've all read a million times, but this is where this is all heading in Revelation 13, where it says it says, let's begin in verse 14. This is speaking about the false prophet, who is basically Antichrist's right-hand man. Because of the signs it was given, power to perform on behalf of the first beast, which is the Antichrist. That's where the term beast comes in. He's a beast. If you go back to the very beginning of chapter 13, you read the dragon, who is Satan, stood on the shore of the sea. The sea represents the populations of the world. And I saw a beast coming out from the sea, out of the sea. So this beast is a person arising out from the population. So God and Jesus, in dictating this to John, just as we saw back in Revelation or in Daniel chapter 7, refers to him and it's his system as a beast system. That's where we get the word beast system from. The second beast was given power to, back to 14, because of the signs it was given power to perform on behalf of the first beast, Antichrist. It deceived the inhabitants of the earth. Now understand, we're not here. When it talks about the inhabitants of the earth, it's primarily, in some translation, it refers to earth dwellers or unbelievers. And it deceived the unbelievers of the earth. It ordered them to set up an image in honor of the beast who was wounded by the sword and yet lived. And one of the things we'll talk about through this little study is 3D technology and some of the other things that are being developed to obviously fill what will be the image of the beast. The second beast was given power to give breath to this image that will sit in the Holy of Holies of the rebuilt temple. That's the abomination of desolation that Jesus referred to in Daniel in chapter 9 referred to. That when this Antichrist, his image is placed into the temple, into the Holy of Holies, that's the abomination. And so it explains here that the second beast was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast so that the image could speak and cause all who refuse to worship the image to be killed. Now, I would suggest that prior to the times we live in today, people would say, what on earth does that mean? Now we have, one of the things that 6G is going to be able to do is what's called twins, where they can actually create an exact duplicate of every one of us, and they can make it do things and track things, and there's all kinds of implications in terms of what can be done. So that they could, and it also forced people great and small. This is so when it says great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, that means everybody on the face of the earth. Everybody on the face of the earth at this time will receive a mark on their right hands or their foreheads. Now, some translations say in, some say on. We don't know exactly what this mark is going to be, but whatever it is, the technology is there. Bill Gates, for example, has said that we're going to get to the point where people will no longer have cell phones. Instead, there's going to be a tattoo that'll be placed on their hand or whatever that will serve as a cell phone, do everything a cell phone can do. And think about it, as we're moving toward this, certainly not everybody in the world has a cell phone, but you don't have to go back that far when people said, I'm never going to get one of those things. No way am I going to get one of those things. Or they'll hold on to old clunkers for as long as they can before they give them up. And she had a flip phone that she just refused to get rid of. It had rubber bands.
Your old mother got a cell phone before I started with flip phone for a while.
So,
Well, it didn't auto dial it, so that was a good thing.
but now it's like you almost can't live without them. They become so commonplace. And yet Gates says that these are going to be replaced with this tattoo at some point. So they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of his name. That's where the 666 comes in. 666 is the number of man. So somehow it's showing an allegiance to the Antichrist, the man. That's what the 666 means.
It's interesting as reading that portion of the Bible 10 years ago was interpreted a little different because not so much had taken place. We're reading it today, and it's like, wow.
Right.
Think about how fast
The technology's there to make it happen.
Crazy.
Yeah. Ever since COVID, everything went crazy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. COVID was,
COVID was a launching stone.
it was.
Yeah.
That's a
Definitely.
launch
Took
pad.
control of us.
It really did.
Yeah.
And now we're
It proved how people are so willing to line up and do what the government tells them to do. It's the same thing. I think it was a test to see how people would respond. It's just like, you get this mark, and if you don't get this mark, you can't buy or sell. How many people are going to deny that? Christians will.
Fear.
Yeah.
Fear takes control of people.
Right.
Yeah. And that's why we cannot fear about what's going on. The Lord is in charge. He takes care of us.
Yeah.
So you think where you are today, you ever went through some bumpy roads? The Lord's always there.
right.
And he knows you. So that's exactly what is in what's so for before the rapture.
Right.
Nothing. The Lord will take care of us.
Yeah. So what we're saying, I mentioned this earlier, Google and other tech companies are very excited about how well the Chinese social credit system works. And there are people in our government that really long to implement just such a system. And our government is modeling a lot of what they're doing off the Chinese credit system. It's like I say, not everything that we see is as it seems. 6G, this new technology, provides the infrastructure to make what we just read in Revelation 13. And understand, all this stuff is being put in place as a prelude to Revelation 13. It's all there because Antichrist has to be able to track and monitor and control everybody on the face of the earth. Never had that type of technology before to do that.
And 6G is enabled by constellation of satellites all around the Earth, which Elon Musk has put up there. He has more to go, but he's got, I want to say thousands, if many hundreds, I believe it's already thousands, and he has many more to go. And I heard today on the news that, who's the guy who owns Amazon?
Bezos?
Bezos. That today he purchased a company that is putting up satellites to augment the ones that Bezos has already put up there.
Right.
To be in competition
Right.
with Elon Musk. The whole point being there's already a lot of satellites.
Well, that's satellite technology. And you can buy satellite cell service or whatever you call it through SpaceX or whatever company it is.
Well, through, through Bezos.
Yeah,
But
and
SpaceX,
it's got the ability to find a person in the middle of the ocean, as long as they have a tracking device of some kind.
Why can't they find Nancy Guthrie?
Yeah.
Apparently, she didn't take the phone.
Lost the thought, sorry.
Okay. So 6G provides the infrastructure along with combining with AI and everything else to make Revelation 13 a functioning reality. 6G uses zero latency transactions, and I had to look that up because I have no idea what it means. But it's a fancy way of saying that financial payments or data events can be processed instantaneously, often in milliseconds. So that's how fast 6G will be able to calculate and do the calculations and go through all of the data that's going to be in all of the systems.
So, well, when was it happen? What about, I'm not sure which one it is, but one of those meteors are gonna come down and happen. I wonder if they'll, one of the plate, it'll knock out all the satellites. So, the other thing I noticed, for trades, when you buy or sell stocks, it used to be 3 days, 1 day for the trade and 2 days for settlement. How happens in 1 day?
It happens instantaneously.
Oh, it's a 1 day settlement.
Yeah.
But
Oh, okay.
they allow you to trade on it.
Right.
If you abuse it, they block you.
Right.
You're right, though. I know that's a big improvement from
Right.
when I used to.
There are all of us old enough here to remember the first satellite. It was called Telstar. They launched that back in the 1960s. And they used it for long distance telephone calls. And do you remember when you would speak and then you'd have to wait several seconds before you hear the other person, and vice versa? That's latency. It took a lot of time for the signal to get from point A to point B.
Right.
Nowadays, it's instantaneous.
Right. 6G will lead to the cashless society. It will allow every transaction, no matter how small, to be validated in real time in a central database. 6G uses terahertz frequencies, which are electromagnetic waves that make them valuable for various applications, including high-speed communication, medical imaging, and security screening. So it's like this wave that can bounce off of somebody. I don't know if you guys heard or not, but one of the ways that they found this pilot that crashed in Iran.
I never heard how they did that.
One of the things they were able to do was to monitor and track his heartbeat through AI. And as you read through this megahertz stuff, this is exactly what is coming to be able to have it. And it was like secret technology, and the head of the CIA wouldn't exactly say what it was, but he said it's technology you can't even imagine.
We've heard of the Defense Department launching satellites for national defense purposes for decades now. And whenever they would do that, they would never say why, what the equipment was, what it was going to do that we couldn't do before. And this is no doubt one of the many things that they launched satellites to do. Right. That we had no clue of.
Right. One of the things this technology, the 60 technology will do is to allow for microscopic antennas. So microscopic they may be able to be embedded in smart dust or biological sensors, potentially allowing for the mark of the beast. Now, I'm going to finish on this and just do a 5-minute video on smart dust because it'll blow your minds. If it doesn't, then there's something wrong with it. That's all.
Never know the smart dust.
Smart dust.
Why do you
Well, you
need
gotta be smart, because it gets everywhere.
Why do you need that? That's kind of stuff.
Okay, here we go.
Well,
My Swiffer likes it's dust anyway.
They're watching you right now, and you can't even see them.
Here.
These are 5 terrifying facts about smart dust. Number 5. Imagine computers the size of literal dust particles. Thousands of invisible sensors floating all around us, observing everything. It's not science fiction. It's a terrifying reality in development. Number 4, the military is exploring spraying smart dust over entire areas. Each microscopic particle could track movement, listen to conversations, and even monitor your heartbeat just from the vibrations you create. There would be nowhere to hide. Number 3, you could be breathing in computers right now. Smart dust is small enough to enter your lungs. Once inside, they could theoretically monitor your health, your biology, or even be used to influence your body. Number 2, scientists at Berkeley have already created smart dust that can assemble itself into networks, communicating and making decisions entirely on their own, without any human control. Number 1, this technology is already being tested. While companies use it to track inventory, the exact same tech could be scaled to track every single human on Earth. The era of total invisible surveillance might be closer than you think. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more.
Remember what the Bible says? That these days weren't ending.
There'll be nothing left.
Right.
I forgot how it
Yeah,
goes.
right.
It would, well,
Right.
humans would have
Right.
destroyed themselves.
Exactly. So, another label or another title for the smart dust is body dust. And you heard her mention that it can detect a heartbeat. Somehow I suspect it's something along those lines. I'm not saying it was smart dust that helped them track this pilot that crashed. And of course, he did some remarkable things on his own, being injured and hiding in a crevice 7,000 feet up a mountain.
I think that was God. It was a few miles.
Right, definitely. So, but Ricky hit the nail on the head earlier. Basically said, "There's no place where we're not going to be able to hide, or they're not going to be able to hide." I'm convinced that what we're seeing now is a precursor, and with the speed at which it's going, I have a lot of people I listen to that say that the speed and efficiency and effects of AI and technology, 6G, quantum, all these types of things is as significant a sign as Israel. And it's just, you can just see that the stage is being set. The technology is going to be there. I'm not sure. I heard Billy Crone say 2 or 3 years ago that they had enough technology at that time to be able to flip the switch for Revelation 13, to be able to track and monitor everybody. Think what they have today. And it's just, and there's a lot of very, very, very nefarious, evil people, not just in government, but in the technology world as well, that are into, I don't know what motivates them. If it's just, I mean, if a person already has billions of dollars, what more do they need but power? And that's what they're looking for. And this idea is, well, it's like socialism. People that believe in socialism believe that they have the answers and nobody else does. And that's what we're dealing with. And now all this stuff starts to take hold.
Well, the towns around here are putting in traffic systems that
Right.
traffic and speeding.
Right.
And so that's the first step in
Yeah,
that will
exactly. Exactly. It's all coming together. And what's going to happen is somehow there's got to be a central system where all of this stuff can be dumped. Be one major system with the dust technology and the this and the AI and the 6G and the quantum, all somehow operating through this single system, whatever that might be.
TV show Person of Interest. I don't know if you've seen that.
No.
But it's basically they have a master system that you can go in and hack any cams that are out there in the city streets and find anybody, and that's already kind of that's kind of the world we're talking about.
That was a show from about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But it was
I think
very
it's
much
older
ahead.
than that.
It was very much ahead of its time.
Yeah.
He's absolutely right.
We've been watching it. It's
The end not streaming you get anything and all of that. The end result of what they could do is more or less what you're talking about right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So, all right, Father, we just thank you for this time, and we just pray, Lord, that our eyes are opened and that you didn't give us a spirit of fear. We don't need to be afraid. And the Bible, you always also tell us in your word that if you are with us, who can be against us? So if we're among those that are hated because of our faith, because of our trust in you, and you told us we'd be hated because of you, so it's not as though it should be a surprise. Or if we're despised or ridiculed or who knows what because of our allegiance to Israel, help us, Lord, to have the wisdom and the strength to be able to endure those things. And I'm not saying that that's going to befall us. It doesn't necessarily mean that it will. Right now things are, we could say, relatively good in the United States. There's a lot of things happening that could change things in a millisecond. Economically, or who knows what kind of attack we could be subjected to, or what kind of battles or natural events. I mean, there's so many different things that could change things instantly. So, but in the meantime, Lord, I pray for everyone here. I pray for those that are listening. Give us the wisdom and the strength we need. For us in Jesus' name we pray all these things. Amen.